Welcome to You Ask 502, the podcast where real stories meet real skills from the plumbers, pipe fitters, and service techs of Local 502. I'm your host, Ryan Kleber. This isn't just another trades podcast. It's our story, told by the people who live it every day. From apprentices to seasoned journeymen, we're talking shop, sharing lessons, and highlighting the wins and challenges of life in the field. With over 25 years in the trade, I've seen a lot, and I'm here to bring those experiences and yours to the mic. We'll cover everything from technical tips and union updates to job site stories and career advice. So subscribe, tune in, and be part of the conversation. This is US 502, powered by Local 502, driven by you. All right, how you feel?
Not too bad.
Okay, good. So, welcome to the next episode of US 502. I'm your host, Ryan Kleber. Joining me, Matt O'Leary. Matt's going to be running for plumber business agent in this upcoming election, which is 2 weeks away.
Oh, yeah, it's real close.
Very close. So I'm glad he came in. This is a nice way for the members to get to know people. You know, Marty's already done one, who you're running against. I got a couple of the guys who are wanting to do the trustee alternates. They're coming in, this week too. So it's a good way to get your name out, good way to get to meet people, because at least people can see your face and kind of get your vision. So
that's right. If I don't have them on Facebook, then, they're not going to get my message. So I think it's a great outlet.
Are you on the local Facebook page?
I am.
Okay. Because I saw what you put out on Facebook, your ad, but I was like, he really needs to be on the local page, so. Okay, cool.
That's been the challenge here because this is such a short campaign period.
It really is.
I'm trying to balance this with work and some of my volunteer work. And,
So you
tough.
Volunteer firefighter?
No, I'm a volunteer with the American Legion.
That's what it is. Okay.
Yep.
It's way off. Okay.
So close.
Right. Well, we'll knock down doors. What do you do for them? Like what?
Well, about past 10 years, I've been an officer. I think for 2 years straight, I was basically the jail forward of my post.
El Presidente.
So I ran the meetings, but at the same time, I did the same thing Scott Lewis does. I'm the head honcho there.
Okay.
So glad to give that up. At the same time, so sad to see it go.
Well,
I spent a lot of time building it to be what it is.
Right.
And to turn that over to somebody, at least I have a legacy.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's like, I really still want to be a part of that, but it's hard to balance with a full-time job.
Well, it is.
So
you do something at the Gaslamp.
Gaslight Festival. Actually, that's coming up right, I think, same weekend as Bourbon and Beyond. So I get to miss that every year.
And our picnic is that Saturday.
That's true. Well, I did make the picnic last year. So
we'll make a little closer.
Yeah, sure.
There you go. Okay. Yeah, well, it's a good time. So where are you working at now?
I'm working for Lusk at an MSD.
Nice.
Yay. It's great. My wife said, you clean up really well for working at a water treatment plant.
Yeah.
She didn't use those exact words, but
shit plant.
Yeah,
there you go. Fair enough. Never had the pleasure of working there, but I've worked at plenty of other dirty places. So
it's not a bad job.
It's all new work there, right? That portion?
Our portion, we're replacing a lot of the pipe. As a matter of fact, I have a retired fitter that works. He's my sergeant at arms out at the American Legion. And some of the things we're taking out, it's the stuff that he installed.
Really?
When, he was a younger guy. Of course,
okay.
He's Vietnam era, so
right.
It's been a while.
What's the process that you're taking out? Like what's running through the pipe?
A little bit of everything.
Okay. Fair enough.
If I would say there's a little piece of all of us there.
Enough said. I can let our imagination go with that one.
Yeah.
All right. So I gave Marty some questions, when he came on. So I'm going to give you the same questions, to see if that way it's fair. Do you want to dive into it? Anything else you want to say before we start?
No, we get right into it.
Okay. So, the first part's kind of on background. So can you tell us about your journey in the trade? What brought you into plumbing, the pipe fitting, or service work? So kind of what brought you into your line of trade?
Well, I did 14 years in the military. Started out.
What branch?
Army and Navy.
Nice.
I did 4 years active duty 4 years active duty Navy. I had a break in service and I missed it. Got back into the Army National Guard.
Okay.
But Of course, that's a kind of a part-time thing.
Right.
They call them a weekend warrior.
Mhm.
For us, it's, 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks out of the year. But I actually deployed more during my National Guard years than I did during my active duty years.
Really? Where'd you go?
Iraq.
Nice.
We were one of the last units to leave Iraq when we did the drawdown.
Okay.
So that was an interesting time. But I had my own business, IT business, back in the early 2000s. Which when I got out of the military, I moved in with a friend down in Arkansas.
Okay.
And we had decided, in some way, shape, or form, we're going to start a business. We don't care what it is. But that happened to be something I was interested in. He was going to law school at the time. So he had a little bit of a mishap with a firearm, unfortunately.
That happens.
So I found myself in a situation where I had to move,
Okay.
right away.
Fair enough.
I came back to Louisville, unemployed. So I got with another friend of mine that I was in the military with, and he had been going to college for, I don't want to say IT work, but he was more working on his computer sciences.
Okay.
And great at programming. I thought, well, let's start ourselves an IT business. Went really well for a number of years. We basically did the same thing that Geek Squad does.
Okay.
So right about the time Geek Squad started advertising with Best Buy is about the time that we went out of business because they took it all. So again, found myself unemployed. And I decided, well, I've got to do something.
What year was this?
This was about 2000, 2004, 2005.
Ooh, okay.
So, yeah, it's been a while.
Turned out of the apprenticeship in 04. So,
So I got a job as a server at a restaurant.
Okay.
I liked it. I liked working with people.
Which restaurant?
Ruby Tuesday.
All right.
I moved up into management. That was I've never been in a position up until I would say the military, but outside of that, any civilian career that I've had, I've always gotten into some management role. That's kind of my forte. And so I moved into that quick. I spent 10 years as a restaurant manager.
Nice.
At the same time, in the National Guard, I got my deployment orders. And unfortunately, and I'm not going to name names on this one, but a big restaurant chain here in Louisville decided they didn't want to hold my position while I got deployed, which is illegal. So they decided to let me go for other reasons.
Oh, Texas
So
Roadhouse?
I came back from my deployment, found myself unemployed again. I'd just gotten married prior to the deployment, so I never had a chance for a honeymoon. I said, well, I'm off. I've got a little bit of money set aside from, not being able to spend anything for the last 9 months. So my wife and I decided to take a honeymoon, and we went down to Destin, Florida. And I got a phone call from Scott Lewis, I think that Friday or Saturday. It was probably a Friday, asking if I can come to work Monday morning.
Okay. So you weren't like a helmets to hard hats or VIP or anything, right?
I had an application in to get into the apprenticeship. And there were some issues where I thought I had a job lined up for me. And this was back, like I said, I think this was 2011 that this whole process started. I thought I already had a job lined up. They asked me to come in for a weld test, and I talked to the employer then. They said, well, you don't have to do a weld test. So I called up and I said, well, they've told me I've already got a position. Well, I didn't have that position. So miscommunication, and that's okay. I understand.
You'll have that.
Yeah. So I started out at Globe as a metal trades, decided, put my application in for the apprenticeship. I want to better myself.
Yeah.
I loved working with my hands. One of the things I enjoy the most about our trade is that any given job, you walk in, either you're fixing something, replacing something, or building something.
You're building something, yeah.
But you have something tangible.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There's something to show for your work, and I enjoy that more than anything. So it's been a great journey.
It is. It's fun. Very rewarding.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Especially if you get on some good jobs and around good people. I mean,
Well, even the bad jobs, as long as you've got a good crew, it's
Well, that is true. Yeah, people are everything because you can make the best out of a bad situation.
oh,
And I've been
absolutely.
on jobs where I was like, I hate this job, and then it'd be 2 years later, I'm like, damn, I kind of forget how fun that job was. You don't really realize the perks that you had until you don't have them anymore.
Right.
So
That's true.
it's pretty cool. All right. You said you was going to take a weld test. Where did you learn how to weld at before?
Took a short, probably 2 or 3 month thing through J-Town High School back when they did. I'm not sure if they still do the magnet programs now, but back then it was you got into a shop class,
Right.
you got into welding.
I got you. Okay.
I actually went down the electronics path, believe it or not.
All right. What motivated you to step in and run for this position? Because you're kind of a dark horse coming out of the.
Oh yeah. Nobody saw it coming except the guys I've worked with.
I too pulled that same move a few years back. So,
well, I've been talking about this for 10 plus years. The things that I want to see changed, which we can talk about later, but I've always seen myself as the kind of person that if I feel something needs to be changed, I'm not going to expect someone else to do it for me. I want to step in. I want to get my hands dirty. I want to be that change. It's something that my dad taught me growing up is that you can't expect change to happen if you're not going to be that change.
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
So I've talked with, classmates out of the apprenticeship. I've talked with a lot of journeymen that I've worked with through the years. There are a lot of things that they want to see happen. And I take all that in, and it shapes my opinion. I didn't come into this, strictly thinking this is what I want to do. I formed that opinion from the opinions of others.
Yeah.
As a business agent,
kind of happens organically.
Well,
you feel like you're in a position where you can make a change, or you want to be a part of something. You feel like you have something to offer.
Right.
So yeah, but based off what other people, it's like something you never really thought of until you thought of it, which sounds stupid, but you know what I mean? It's like, I know some people have ambitions to be an agent from day one, and they literally work toward, and that's all they do is try to posture themselves. And then some people just is like, I feel like I'm in a good spot where I feel like I can help and give back. So.
Well, and that's kind of where I'm at. I like I said, the biggest thing that I do, everybody, when I first meet people that, man, you're awful quiet. No, I'm not quiet. If you've ever worked with me or talked with me, sometimes you can't get me to shut up, but
you gotta assess the room.
I listen.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest things, because I may have had an opinion 5 years ago about something.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard from, 10 different people that tell me something totally different. It's going to shape my opinion.
Of course.
It might be, night and day from where I started.
Well, it's good. You need to be able to adapt and evolve with, current information and data. So there's nothing wrong with evolving, So there's a lot of things that were taken for granted back in the day that obviously are taboo now. You know what I mean?
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's like, you can't always just have that. Well, this is the way it was. This is the way it's always going to be.
I hate that term. This is the way we've always done it. Well,
yeah. Yeah, I was greeted with that a few times.
There's only one way to fix that,
Right. Blow it up.
Yep.
So I guess you'll get into kind of some of the things you want to work on later on.
Oh, yeah.
You want to address that now? Okay. All right. Who or what has influenced your leadership style the most?
Okay. Like I said, 14 years in the military. I have dealt with every personality that you can think of, from, the brand new private to, the command sergeant major that doesn't want you walking on his grass. I've dealt with, leaders in combat. I've dealt with leaders in education, and all that put together. I was actually I was an MP in the National Guard.
Okay.
And for about 3 years, I taught officer candidate school. So I'm teaching the future leaders of the Army. And I had some of the best leaders in the state of Kentucky teaching me how to teach those leaders.
Right. So you were based out of Kentucky, Fort Knox?
Yep. Actually, Wendell H. Ford down in Greenville, Central City.
Okay.
It's a big regional training center. So that was definitely a big influence.
Where'd you do your boot camp?
Well, I did my original boot camp in Great Lakes, Illinois.
All right.
That was with the Navy. And then I did kind of a condensed version of basic with the Army at,
do they make you go back through if you've already been through, even though it's
yes
a
and
different
no.
branch?
It's a different course. So like if I had done Army first and then decided to go in the Navy, I probably wouldn't have to go through basic, because the
Okay.
Army's basic's a little harder than the Navy, obviously. But they sent me through what they call a warrior transition course.
Okay.
And it's basically just a condensed version. You already know all the military etiquette. You already know all the customs.
See if you still got it.
Now we need to teach you the Army way of doing things. So yeah, I did that in Oklahoma.
So that's where my daughter is now. That's why I brought it up. She actually graduates boot camp next.
Is that Fort Sill?
Fort Sill, yeah.
Yep.
Next, maybe not next, but the week after. Either way, yeah, she's graduating here in the next 2 weeks.
That's awesome.
Going down to see her. It's awesome. Out of the blue too. She's come up. She's like, I'm joining the Army. I was like, what? Actually, she told me she was joining the Air Force because she's a paratrooper. Mm-hmm. And then she never really got it. Once I got to looking at her paperwork, I'm like, baby, this is the Army. Like, she's like, oh, okay. I'm like, all right. But she's killing it. She's doing good. She's actually already, she's going to upgrade to an E2 right out of boot camp. So
awesome.
She's already going, she's setting up obstacles.
Did she do ROTC?
No.
Okay.
She just gangster.
That's actually a pretty big accomplishment straight out of basic. So,
yeah. She's a hard worker. She has problem staying focused, but I think that there's really no problem with that when someone's up your ass the whole time. Yep. But she likes to work hard. So
that's good. That's what it takes.
So yeah, it's awesome. So thank you for your service.
I appreciate it.
It's awesome knowing that I've talked to her. I just talked to her yesterday, so I kind of got a little insight on the boot camp, and it's wild. It's throwing grenades. She got gassed last week.
That's she did so much fun.
the ruck thing. She had a name for it, and I forgot what it's called. But where they ruck like 7 miles in, stay 2 days, and ruck 7 miles back. She said they lost 2 people. Just couldn't finish, so they're going back to start over.
Yep.
So I'm like, damn.
We had a ruck march from OCS class down in Alabama. It was a 12-mile ruck march. Started in the morning, and it ended on was the NASCAR track down. Is it Talladega?
Is that in Alabama?
Yeah.
Ooh, I think Talladega's in Talladega.
Let's see. I'm trying to remember I'm not a
NASCAR guy.
Yeah, no, I'm not either. Well, we did one lap around the track. That was the end of the 12 miles.
Okay.
So I've got pictures of the finish line.
Well, it's banked too, isn't it? So
it's
like not easy.
You're almost looking up a hill.
I was going to say
when you get on the.
Sounds easy till you're walking it.
Like,
shit.
Yeah. So military has been a huge influence on my leadership style. But as a restaurant manager, of course, I had to deal with all types of personalities, from customers to my employees. Upper management. And I actually had one manager, who's a really good friend of mine still, that I'd always thought that being a manager or being a supervisor, just being in some leadership role, it's all about telling people what to do and make sure they do it. And he opened my eyes to one little phrase. And I've told people this same phrase for years and years, is that management is the art of achieving goals through others. So 2 parts to that. One is obviously you're telling people what to do to, finish a project or, get something accomplished. But at the same time, I'm also utilizing things I've learned in the military, is that I make sure they're fed.
Right.
I make sure they have the equipment that they need, and I make sure that they have the training that they need. And they're always going to be the first to do everything, and I'm going to be the last. Another one. And I don't say that as in they're going to be the first ones to do the work. I'm saying when it comes to them eating, they go first, I go last, because I'm going to make sure every man and woman gets through that line first. It's taking care of your people before you take care of yourself.
Yeah. Well,
so
that's good. And if you've ran work in the field, are you been a foreman in a few spots?
I did actually did a lot of solo work out at the paddock expansion out at Churchill Downs.
Okay.
I was the only one out there welding on the gas line.
Right.
Had a second-year apprentice helping me with that. So we brought in just a few foremen here and there to help out, get things caught up. But I went solo on that one for quite a while.
Right.
Did a lot of work with Chardin out at the Lebanon. What was Diageo?
Diageo.
One, I would say not quite half, but close to half of that entire dry house. We engineered it from the floor up. So
Is that the one Nick ran? And Joe was a foreman out there?
Yeah, Joe was out there. I was actually there when he retired.
Mm-hmm. So I think Derek was a foreman out there at some point. There's
Yeah,
a few
you
different
had,
people.
let's see, Anthony Tucker, Josh Beam.
Okay.
Yeah, there's quite a few.
It's a good crew.
Oh, yeah, it was. It was a great job.
It is.
Great conditions.
And it was out there, but it wasn't too far out there.
And that was the thing. You get on some jobs that are, if you're driving down the Bowling Green, like I live here in Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a heck of a drive
that's
for me.
Haul.
And you get down to a job and it's one of those jobs you're like, I'm not getting any overtime here. I'm doing all this driving and man, I just don't want to be here. I want to get this job done and move on to the next one. Mm-hmm. And then you get those jobs that they may be way out there and you absolutely love it.
Mm-hmm.
The conditions are great. The people you're working with are great.
Right.
You just, you find yourself showing up early.
True.
Because you want to be there.
Yeah. Feel like you're a part of something.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. It's good stuff. All right. What is being a union member? What does being a union member mean to you personally?
Well, I was brought up in a conservative household.
Okay.
Never really was exposed to union life, aside from my grandfather. He was a union electrician. He actually was one of the guys that put the original lights in the Grinstead Tunnel.
Oh, wow.
But he was retired by the time I was old enough to realize,
right.
Pay attention to things like that. So my dad, he worked for the city. He worked as a volunteer firefighter. He got into logistics and things like that with, I think, Honeywell and Iron Mountain, a few different companies. So I was never really exposed to that. If I was, it was more looking at it from the outside.
Right.
It's when, of course, like I said, I found myself unemployed and I get a phone call from Scott Lewis and, I got thrown right into the mix.
Oh, yeah.
And what I've learned through that time is, we're in this together. The things that we do today, they're going to affect us 10 years from now.
Oh, yeah. Definitely a ripple effect.
And we should be policing each other for one, holding each other accountable, but at the same time, we should have each other's backs. It reminds me a lot of the military. You
can do both. People think you can't. It's
no,
like,
you
you're
can.
a brother effer, and it's like, no, man, like we're professionals. It has to be done right.
That's right.
Hold them accountable, but also have their back. You can do both. So, yeah.
But
what you're saying.
Oh yeah, and it reminds me a lot of the military. You get stuck in a trench with, a guy you've never met, and he might be saving your life 10 minutes from now.
Yeah.
You build that. They call it what is it? Trauma bonding.
Yeah.
You build that with a person that you might not see ever again. A few months from now. He's off on the other end of the other side of the world, or in another state.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the same thing. You work with so many different guys and so many different personalities. You make friends throughout the years, people that you keep up with. And again, you might not ever see them again. Of course, you got Facebook now.
Right.
That helps. But, there's always that camaraderie. We all strive to accomplish the same things. We have a common goal. And I think for the most part, we've all got each other's backs. So it's rewarding to be a part of an organization where, there's enough of a common goal. Of course, it's your livelihood and it's your quality of life, that it affects more than just your job. So you build lifetime friendships and it's great. I mean, I wouldn't ask for anything else. It was a big eye opener when I got into it, and now I can't see it any other way.
Well, I'll give you that. Yeah, it's hard to even think of doing anything else.
Yeah.
Or doing this type of work in another environment just be crazy. How do you plan to balance immediate needs like steady work and fair wages with long-term priorities like training, organizing, and retiree benefits?
So, one of the things you'll probably hear me talk a lot about is training. And
you teach? You're not a teacher over there, right?
I'm not.
Okay.
I've had my time as an educator. Like I said, I was a certified Army instructor for a
All
number
right.
of years. I enjoyed it, but I guess my style of teaching now, I'm a little bit older and I've had that experience. I like to be, one-on-one with apprentices. As a matter of fact, one of the big things as a journeyman, and this goes for any journeyman, we're not just professionals.
Mm-hmm.
We're not just mentors. We're teachers. We should strive to find the apprentice with the least amount of experience who's struggling the most and make them our personal project. They should walk out of that job or that task, whatever it is. You might be with them for a week. You might be with them for 6 months.
Yeah.
But by the time they leave, I want to impress on them something that they're going to remember for the rest of their career. Oh, Matt's the guy that taught me how to do a rolling offset. I learned it in school, but I never applied it in the field.
We all have that guy.
Yeah. Every journeyman should strive to be that person, because our apprentices are
a perfect world. Yeah.
They're the ones that are our future.
Of course.
They are going to be running these companies.
Yeah.
They're going to be our leaders. They're the ones doing the work. Like I said, what we do, today is going to affect us 5-10 years down the road. So,
All right. I feel that. That's good. And that's true. And I wish, more people took, more journeymen actually took that to heart. I do think we have a lot of apprentices now, so makes it tough because, I think there's not more apprentices than journeymen, but hell, you see a lot of jobs where it's just, fourth year and second year working together. So they don't get that, that big brother, big sister, that I don't know if you got it, but it really helped me out a lot coming in. You almost need that mentor.
It depended on the job.
Yeah.
I hate seeing an apprentice treated like they're there to do the labor that nobody else wants to do. They are they're getting exposed to the trade, especially early on in their apprenticeship. They're getting exposed to what we do. They obviously have no experience or very little experience. So you don't expect them to do what it is a third, fourth, or fifth year would do. But at the same time, put them behind a broom or organizing gang boxes or, that's doing them a disservice because number one, they're starting to get to that point and some of them do. They'll get to that point in that first year where they see, is this really what I want to do? Is this what I can expect for the next 5 years? Or are we out there teaching them something that they're going to take with them for the rest of their career?
Yeah.
And, I always say that, when it comes to the education of the apprentices, their first year, it's exposure. It's kind of easing them into math that they may have never experienced or never applied to, what they're doing. But we have an opportunity to, give them more than what they're getting behind a broom or behind, pulling parts or cleaning up messes and things like that.
Yeah. No,
but I always say, in their first year, they're a little dangerous because they don't know exactly what they're doing and they have to be supervised all the time.
Yeah.
By their fourth and fifth year, they should be dangerous because these are the guys that we can cut loose. We can give them a task with very little supervision and they can actually accomplish what a journeyman can accomplish. That's where an apprentice,
again, ideally.
Ideally, obviously.
So.
But, that's kind of one of my goals that I want to see is just a well-rounded apprentice. By the time they hit their fifth year and they turn out and you cut that chain loose and you cut that cord loose, that they should be able to go and run with it with very, very limited, I don't want to say supervision, but very limited lapses on technical knowledge. I guess they're able to actually go out and do what a journeyman should do.
Well, right. You wouldn't put them in a situation they haven't been in either,
Right.
So, but yeah, they do need, most of what they learn is going to be in the field. I've seen. So, like you said, you touch everything in school and then you kind of master it, when you get out in the field and kind of figure out what your forte is and what you want to learn. The first year, I think it is kind of like a boot camp
Mhm.
element where it's like, here, if you could tolerate this for, 6, 8 weeks, like, I want to see if you're going to be here every day. I want to see if you're on time. I want to see if, if things aren't going great, are you going to go home and cry? Are you going to come back? But yeah, like you said, you can't just leave them on a broom forever. Like eventually they're going to have to start, you know, learning and earning, So that was the way it was done when I came through. But I do see a lot more, especially when you get on a big project. You get these kids and it's like, well, you're just gopher. And next thing you know, it's been 3 years and they know nothing
Right.
except what parts are.
And that's one of the problems I've run into here recently. Probably in the last 4 or 5 years, I keep running into these apprentices. They're in their third, their fourth, or fifth year. Well, maybe not fifth year, but they're a lot of third years and fourth years that they should be at this level, but they're more where I would think a second year would be. They understand the job, they can navigate themselves through a job site, but they can't perform a simple task because nobody's ever taken the time to take what they learned in school and apply it right there on that job.
An apprentice that's on like on a 2-man crew type deal or a small job, small crew job, I think they probably learn the most because, they have to be like, I need this young man or young woman to actually help me, not just hold the dumb end of the tape, that like what's the next step? Let's get the tools off. All right, now you got them off. Cool. I know you can cut the pipe straight, handle that, and then you get good at that. Well, let's see if you can bevel it. And there's steps as opposed to, but there's so many big jobs where I don't know.
And that's exactly it. I think the contractors do a great job of keeping the small busy work going. They've made the contacts through the years. It's the big jobs.
Yeah.
It's the Meta. It's VA Hospital.
The Blue Oval.
Blue Oval. Great examples. And the majority of apprentices are going to end up on a big job at some point.
Well, a lot of them that got in for that reason.
Right. Exactly.
There was an initiative at Blue Oval, like we want 30% apprentices of your staff. And I'm like, well, shit, that's, so you really got to go out and like get a lot of people in. And they, so a lot of young men and women just kind of just like riding around in carts and going to get stuff. And they don't really get that,
Well, and I've got a plan for that with our training. I really want to take a deep dive in our curriculum. And I know it's not consistent as far as, this class in their first year is going to do this, this, and this. Whereas the following year, the first years are going to they might not do that exact same thing. But what I would like to do is kind of identify some general things that a first year, a second year, a third year would actually do, or a task that you'd expect them to do on a job, or something that you would expect them to learn, and actually have that as a part of, like we do the OJT hours, that they are exposed and have a good understanding of this specific task. And let's say you make a list of 5 things for the first year, is that they have a good understanding and can perform this task up to UA standards, and they're at least competent in it.
Like on the job?
Or on the job, something that they actually experience on the job that they put their hands on and can say, yes, I did
like
this.
Screw pipe?
I mean, you could take it for, a first year. Like I said, there's a lot of apprentices that'll sit behind a broom.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's your other apprentices that they get out and they've cut copper, cleaned fittings. Maybe they've done their first solder joint. Maybe that is something, that they can have signed off or show that they have experience within their first year. Just depends on where they're at in their
That's true.
education.
It does depend on where they're at. Because if you're a globe,
well, and that's kind of the point. You don't want an apprentice to sit behind a grinder for 2 or 3 years, and then work slows down. They get laid off and they go to work out in the field. They don't know how to cut a hanger.
What's a clevis hanger?
Right.
What's in the bottom?
They have no idea what to do. So I think just making it a requirement that they're exposed to certain things on the job, out in the field, I think would be beneficial to all of them.
True. I would be interested to see how we could do that. But yeah, because it is something we've thought about, quite often. And it's kind of hard to regulate the job they're on. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because if they're doing a stainless job, then you're not going to get a lot of screw pipe or copper or stuff like that. I mean, I get what in theory, that does sound great. So, yeah, I'm anxious to see how we can put that into, and actually make it work. So, how do you approach tough decisions when members' opinions are divided?
Anytime you are in between, I don't know, two opposing opinions, you're always a mediator.
Yeah.
You should never take sides unless it's something that directly affects the local. I think if you're trying to compromise on standards or you're trying to compromise on safety, then absolutely I'm going to be one-sided on that. But when you have differing opinions on the way things should be done, or maybe you find a gray area in, the way, I don't know, that a job's getting done, you're a mediator, period. You try to find common ground no matter what. You're not going to make everybody happy all the time, but you at least strive for that. And if you can get both parties to agree that, yeah, I'm not going to get exactly what I want, and I'm not going to get exactly what I want, but we're going to find some middle ground. I think it can always be done as long as cool heads prevail.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that doesn't always happen. And I dealt with it a lot, but that's the best you can do.
I admire your optimism, sir. I was very, similar in your shoes when I got in 8 years ago, and it's just so many personalities. And
oh yeah, I know. Well, I deal with
beat you down.
I'll tell you what, I'm on the executive board with the American Legion. I have one Korea vet. The majority of the other officers are Vietnam veterans. I have one guy that's just a little bit older than I am. He was Desert Storm, and then of course I'm Iraqi Freedom, so the end of our drawdown. So I'm dealing with personalities that are in their 90s and a totally different generation, totally different mindset. And I've got, all the way down to somebody who's about my age. He's got me by a few years, but, I deal with it all the time. And a lot of the Vietnam veterans, of course, the bad treatment that they had coming back.
Oh, yeah.
They are very, very strong personalities. And when they want something, they're going to let you know. We've made changes throughout the years at the Legion where, we've updated our technology and the things that maybe they don't understand or don't agree with. And I heard about it, but at the same time, we found common ground. Did I make everybody happy? No, I'm not even going to try and,
it's impossible.
Convince myself of that. I know it's not possible.
All right. What do you believe makes a good union leader, and how do you measure yourself against that standard?
Well, putting our members first is paramount. Upholding UA standards. We negotiate a contract. I think, when is our next contract coming up? We have 2 or 3 years left on it.
We have the rest of this year and one more.
So we're sitting on 2 years. So, you all have the opportunity to negotiate that contract. So it's kind of like setting boundaries with your kids. These are the rules. These are, I expect you to follow them. But at the same time, you're not going to penalize them for making mistakes. So it's the same thing being a leader with the union. I think that, we would set the standard. We set the expectation. We're going to hold our members to that. We're also going to hold our contractors to that. But at the same time, we're here to work with you all on both sides of the house. We need to find common ground for most situations that are kind of a gray area.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, I think as long as you all, and hopefully if I get elected, if we are advocating for our members, then I think we're doing our jobs. At all times, if we're putting our members first, then we are doing our jobs.
All right. How do you plan to keep members informed and involved in union matters?
Well, this is a good start right here.
This is pretty.
I do like the podcast.
Have you listened to them?
Yeah.
Have you?
I've been through 10 out of the 11
Right.
that are on the website.
I've not listened to one yet. How do I come off all right?
No, you're not bad. Not bad. You can definitely tell the difference between the first one and the last one.
Yeah. We were actually reading the script the first one. And it's
okay.
Like when you FaceTime someone and then you just end up staring at yourself the whole time instead of looking at the person. That's kind of where I was like, I look stupid. Yeah. So it's nice to actually have I feel like you can have more of a conversation in a room with someone.
Yeah. I've had, so my big thing was public speaking.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of shy in high school. Of course, military kind of opened me up a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
But when I got into leadership with the American Legion, I actually ran, I don't know if you've been to them, any of the Veterans Day or Memorial Day ceremonies down at Veterans Park in J-Town.
I have not. Actually, I rode through one time when one was going on. It was pretty cool.
So you've seen the park.
Oh, yeah.
And, there's a good 300-400 people out there.
Oh, yeah.
I've got, a 2-star general over here. I've got the mayor of J-Town over here. And as a matter of fact, I learned out that I was the lowest ranking member on that stage when my chaplain was a great guy. And none of us really know each other's ranks until we see each other in uniform. Right. He was a 1-star general. Like, wow, okay. So
tough act to follow there.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
But it's an experience. The public speaking. And as a matter of fact, I got an opportunity through the Department of Corrections. I'm doing a keynote for them with some inmates, an undetermined amount. I don't have the details on it yet, but get to talk to them for about an hour about how the different veterans organizations can help keep them from getting incarcerated for the desperate. And
they're already incarcerated.
Yeah, these are the ones that are already incarcerated.
So you're late to the
the
party there.
Yes and no. I mean, hopefully,
if you get out,
keep
you from coming back.
Yeah, there's so many opportunities out there that people don't know about, and that gives me an opportunity to talk to them.
There really are.
So, it's all about, you get into those desperate times, and there's no telling what a human being's capable of. So I think, just as a community leader and an advocate for all veterans, and hopefully for Local 502, it's our obligation to show them those resources.
Yeah. Some people are just lost.
They are.
There are some people who are born evil, but most people are just lost.
Right.
They just need structure and guidance. That's why, the military is great for lost souls, it's like, and for overachievers. But in general, it's not a bad plan B to go to the military. It's always great career. You learn a lot. Like you said, meet all the people.
Great experience, great leadership.
Put you in position, when you get out. It's, if I could have done it differently, actually I was going to enroll in the Navy. I already took, the ASVAB and everything. I was ready to go. And then I got accepted to the local like 3 weeks before. I was going to start meeting again with, to set up my deployment or to set up my boot camp. So I ended up taking that job first. Like I hadn't signed anything yet.
Right.
But I was like in talks to.
They roped me in and they didn't let go. But I think this podcast it's a good start. I think Facebook is always going to be a great opportunity.
It's good to get information out. Just, stay off the comments.
Yeah, that's true. But
you'd be like free ice cream for everyone and be like, oh, it ain't fucking chocolate. And it's like, come on, guys. Like,
yeah.
It's always going to be that one guy.
Yep.
Where do you see this local in 5 years, and what steps would you take to get us there?
So we were talking about education earlier. Again, one of the plans that I had was to see that short list of, in your first year, I want you exposed to this out in the field. You got it in school, but to actually apply it out in the field. I think, number one, changing the expectations of the contractors and our journeymen to help apprentices at least get exposed to what they're learning. Number two, a huge change in mindset for our journeymen, that they need to start seeing themselves as teachers. They need to start passing on that knowledge and wisdom to the apprentices, because in 5 years, and that's a great starting point. You talk about 5 years, it's a 5 year apprenticeship. So if we start with, our first years right now, we're talking about when they turn out, where do I see this local? Well, it really depends on how they see our standards being applied to work that they do. I've said this from the day I started at Globe, is that the work that we do now is going to affect our job, our ability to get work 5-10 years down the road.
Oh, yeah.
If we start compromising on standards, or we start compromising on education, or if we start compromising on teaching technology, we're going to be behind the eight ball with that.
I think we do very good at the school with all that. So I think most of what you're saying is going to apply to what they do in the field.
Correct. Okay. I don't have really many issues with what we do here at the school. Again, I probably have to take a deeper dive into the curriculum. And I'm always going to have criticism, hopefully, to steer things in the right direction. But I think the majority of this is going to apply in the field, because you're getting good exposure to concepts and doing the things that you're learning in perfect conditions.
Right.
Now, to apply that in the field where the conditions are no longer perfect, you don't have an instructor sitting there with you to tell you how to do it. You need to be able to take what you've learned in school, apply it on the job, and make it work.
Yeah.
If we don't have opportunities for apprentices to actually use what they've learned, it's a skill that they'll lose. It's something that I remember back when I was a second year, we kind of touched on that, and I've never done it since.
Right.
So where we go from here, 5 years, 10 years down the road, is really going to depend on the mindset of our journeymen. One, are they going to be educators as well? Are they going to be the teachers of our apprentices? And number two, are they going to uphold our standards? Because they're the ones that are making the decisions. They're the ones that are actually doing the technical work and guiding the apprentices on how to do things, or even push that broom. But
good habits is what I think. Good habits, accountability.
And that's another big thing. We need to police ourselves. And you take it's easy I say it's easy. It's very hard for one person on a big job to step up and see something that's wrong and stand up and say it's wrong.
Yeah.
Very, very difficult for that one person to do it. But if the whole crew does it, everyone is behind them, because they know it's something that needs to be fixed, or it's just, outright wrong. Then it's a lot easier for somebody to stand up and do what's right. So I think it's a huge, huge shift in mindset that we need to start realizing as journeymen. We need to step up to the plate and start upholding our standards and start helping our apprentices.
All right. These are all good points. How should the local adapt to changes in technology, codes, and industry standards?
So you've probably heard AI is taking all our jobs. They're going to take all our jobs.
Well, not ours.
AI is never going to replace what we do.
No.
But they are going to replace aspects of what we do. A robot's not going to put pipe in for us. ChatGPT is not going to engineer a project. They're not going to do a solder joint. It's just not going to happen. What they are going to do, you've seen the new hard hats with the flip down goggles and the things. I think they look ridiculous, but
look like RoboCop.
Yeah, that's going to be the industry standard. It's moving in that direction. So a good example, they make augmented reality goggles for these things. So you can essentially step out on a brand new slab. Nothing's been installed. You don't even have walls up yet. And it knows where you're at, and you can see the layout of the entire job before anything's ever installed. Now, I can almost guarantee you that if I had a blueprint, or I had some kind of a reference, a 3D model or something like that, I could show that to Chat GPT and it could lay the job out for me or something similar. That's where I see AI actually taking some of the work from us, as when you allow the emerging technology to be taken over by either another industry or by a computer, and we don't have the technical know-how to use that new technology, we might as well just be installers. We're no longer technicians. We just install pipe.
Have you done any of the model work? Excuse me.
On the drawing side, or just using it in general?
Use it in general.
Oh, yeah.
Navisworks program.
Oh, yeah.
Because what it goes to build that, I mean, yeah, you're right. ChatGPT could do it because you already have everything laid out,
right?
Like a Revit file or something like that. So you could take that and, essentially, yeah, you could do that.
And I mean, it's not that we need to be engineers, but at the same time, we engineer a lot of our work. Everything looks great on paper until you actually get out in the field and have to install it, and you got to find a new way to do it.
I think it'd be better if we could, like, as far as, the teaching, go back to what you were saying, is actually learn how these systems work.
Oh, absolutely.
And not just, you could weld, you could do screw pipe, you could make it in plumb level square. I mean, everything's great, all your sizes, but why? Why does it need to have an eccentric reducer before it ties into the PRV? Why does it have to have, so many pipe diameters? I mean, you can't, even the best ones know the specs and the way it's supposed to be, but like, how does the hydronic system work? Like, why is that pump cavitating? Like, so unless, it'd be nice to actually teach someone, how these systems.
It's easy to see the emerging technologies for what they are, and know that certain things are going to become a part of our trade. Now, whether we're involved on the front end of that, it's up to us. The writing's on the wall. The technology is there. Maybe it hasn't been implemented yet, but it will be. Now, we have opportunities, I think, with some of the vendors or some of the creators of this technology to say, hey, we'd like to invite you down to kind of help us and guide us in the direction that we need to take to start educating ourselves on this.
Well, yeah.
So, but it's a matter of communication with, your the masterminds behind the technology, I guess.
True.
So
true. Still be good to know how these things work.
Oh, absolutely.
Because, the people designing all this tech understand it, and if you're nothing but an installer, whether, AI is helping or not, I mean, there's still a lot of us who are just installers, like really have no clue why anything goes where. I just know I got to make that weld and hang the pipe, so yeah.
Well, and here's the problem, let's look 10 years down the road when AI is able to do the layout of a job, and you are just an installer, or we all are. How do I go to the negotiating table and convince our contractors that we're worth more than we're making right now, when the only thing that we know how to do, or the only thing that we're good for at that point, is installing pipe that a computer told me to install?
Yeah. Or a man, computer or not, like, Ford jobs. You ever been on a Ford job?
Mm-hmm.
It's just fencing. They set a robot. We want the track here. Boom. You hose it up, run a pipe drop, blue oval. I mean, you don't need an orbital weld, but like, why are why is there 6 lines going to this one mixer? Like, what does it do? You know what I mean? So it's just, there's a lot of caveats to, I mean, I think we're already probably trending in the installer phase, because even though it's just engineers, and it's not a computer, it's still everyone relying on, what one person or a few people say, and you just do it. You just carry out a mission. So kind of like the military, you know what I mean? You don't know why you're going to this covert mission. You just know I got to do 2 or 3 things,
But the upside to what we do is they're not, classified.
Right. It's not life and death, but I mean, it's
like, something that, honestly, it's not going to hurt to know these things.
Right.
We
used to be able to sell the value to engineering, I guess, is to summarize it. And I don't know if we can really do that like we used to, because of everything so dumbed down,
I just ran into a guy, it's probably been a week or less, that they had to call him. He's been retired for years. They had to call him out to a particular job because nobody knew the system as well as he did. So he came in as a consultant and he could tell them exactly where the valves
Big
were.
money right there.
Oh yeah. And there aren't a lot of people today that could do the same thing or say the same thing. When they retire, they're not going to get that phone call
Right.
to say, hey, we don't understand the system you installed 30 years ago. Can you come explain it to us? We don't have that
Right.
technical knowledge,
Right.
and we should.
Yeah.
At least some of us should.
Yeah.
But I think all of us need to be exposed to it.
It's definitely watering down the trade.
It is.
And I think we're probably getting off on a little side tangent,
No,
but no, and that's me. I was taking us there, but yeah, I mean, it really is like, a whole different, it's not like it used to be, back in when did I get in? 2009. Yeah. I mean, so 1999. Crap. Yeah. When I got in 99, I mean, things were way different, you know what I mean? And so just to see, I mean, there was no pro press, very little plastic was used other than in plumbing, I mean, it's just, Big Tolic was early on, on big jobs. So it's come a long way. But, if you don't have to specialize in the training as much, if everything's dumbed down and, quote unquote, anyone can do it, because it doesn't have to be, something super.
And that's what'll happen.
Yeah.
When anyone can do it.
Yeah.
Everyone will do it.
Everyone will do it.
You're right.
Yeah. So, what's your vision for training and the apprenticeship in years ahead? Which, I mean, you can answer that if you want. I feel like you've already answered it a few times.
Yeah, it's really like I said. I want to take a deep dive into the curriculum. I want to understand, generally what is expected of a first year in school, and I know that's going to change from class to class. But I have a general understanding of what to expect out of a first year and out of a second year. But I want to see well-rounded apprentices. By their fifth year, they should be dangerous. I mean, they should be.
Oh, they're dangerous.
They need to be, and it shouldn't be in a
Not
bad
always
way.
in the right way,
Right.
but they're dangerous.
I've got apprentices on the job that I have right now, that I'm on right now, that I have full faith that if I had to leave, if I had a family emergency, and they're stuck on the task that I had to leave them with, that they're going to get it done.
Oh yeah,
or they're going to make a great attempt at doing it.
And I've worked with plenty just like that too.
I want to see that for every apprentice. I know we're not going to get 100%, but that should be the majority of our apprentices. You should never run into a third year that's clueless. It should not happen. The only reason that's happening is one, most people will make the argument, or I don't say most people, a lot of people will make the argument, well, this apprentice, he doesn't care. He doesn't show up for work on time. Well, that may be true, but he made it this far. He's worked for the same contractor. It's obviously, hopefully not a motivation thing, or, hopefully it's something that we can fix, or something that we're not doing right, that we need to change to make that young apprentice into just a shit hot journeyman when he turns out.
Yeah. Well, there's schools of thought there, because you ask your older guys, and it's like, well, we just got our shit together. That's just what we did. Like even if I wasn't good at what I was doing, I was going to be there every day on time. Whereas now, some of these guys, and I think a lot of the older guys are like, well, why do we have to keep dumbing everything down or changing the way we do things to adapt? But you do have to reach out to these, these young men and women and kind of get on their level. Because, I mean, it's an iPad society. It's a
different generation. Even I grew up, grew up in the 90s. So
same.
Gen X. I'm actually on that cusp of.
Same. How old are you?
46.
Okay. I'll be 40. I think I'll be 45 this year.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
I think so. We're right there, though.
Yeah. So we grew up with and without the internet. We grew up drinking out of hoses and playing in the creek, and it was a different time, but we got to experience kind of the harder, grittier, younger or 80s and early 90s.
Yeah.
But we also got to experience the early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a huge difference in that generation, and a lot of it stems from technology.
Because we were young adults then, as opposed
Right.
to kids.
Right. Most kids have no idea what not having internet is like. Not having information right there at your fingertips. And everything is instant gratification, and not just because that's how we treat them. It's because that's the way the world is now. Even as an adult, I can get on and I can find out anything right now.
That's what I was going to say earlier too, is that no one really knows a lot anymore. They just know where to find it. And if you lose that connection, you're kind of screwed as far as your open book to the test is gone. Now it's like, you want me to remember something? Like, so it's pretty wild, And
that's my daughter asked me that question. She just turned 24, and of course she was born in 2001. She said, Dad, I don't understand. How'd you get by without a cell phone? How'd you get by without the internet? So, well, back in my day, we used to, chisel our homework on stone tablets and,
walk uphill both ways to school.
She just has no concept of not having that information at her fingertips. And that's big disservice to our apprentices.
Yeah.
Is that they can't walk onto a job and have some, knowledge of how to do things without getting on Google.
Right.
Because their jobs are going to get on either they don't have a signal on their phone or they're not allowed to have their phone, period. They better know how to do it. And
do y'all use Procore? I know a lot of contractors are using that now, which is like everyone carries around the iPad draped across. Looks like Alan from the Hangover's purse. And he's walking around. It's like, and you can do RFIs real quick. It's actually pretty genius. But again, it's also like, I think the more access you have to retrieve, the less you just naturally, maybe what's the word I'm looking for? I guess hold on to as far as information. So,
well, I mean, how many people can tell you their phone number from the first house they lived in? I can tell you now. I guarantee you my daughter can't.
Oh yeah. I got like 5 numbers I know. And after that, like
my dad had an issue. He lost his phone, had an emergency, and couldn't remember my mom's number because he'd never actually physically typed it in.
Yeah.
So he had no way of getting a hold of her. I mean, that's the age that we live in now. But if you don't have that knowledge in your head, number one, to know where to look for it, or number two, how to figure it out without the resources.
Right.
I mean, again, you're just an installer with the internet at their fingertips.
Yeah. So,
anybody can do that.
And everyone will. All right, here we go. We'll get a little of your personal side here. So what do you want the members to know about you as a person, not just a candidate?
I have 3 dogs. I got a 24-year-old daughter. She moved out to Homestead, which is not something that I taught her. I don't know where that came from.
Oh, okay. She's actually homesteading.
Yeah. Well, she's attempting to. She actually, she lives in Greensburg, which is way out there.
She got chickens?
And yep.
Nice. Sourdough? She got all the things?
She, her and her boyfriend, which I like the guy. I really do. Right. He's not one of those that I'm like wanting to take hunting and not bring back, but I really do like him.
Right.
They work in Louisville. They work at UPS.
Okay.
So they're making that drive. But she's done great. We had some hiccups, just like any teenager, and she's really gotten her head on straight and started to do great for herself.
Good for her.
I'm proud of that as a dad,
That's your only child?
Yeah, only one. That's enough.
Right.
Like I said, I did 14 years in the military. I've been on, 2 med cruises, 1 deployment to Iraq. Did about 2 weeks in Afghanistan, which I couldn't even tell you where I was at there. I was helping set communications up for another unit, and they flew us in and flew us right back out.
Was it sandy?
What's that?
Was it sandy? Like desert like?
It was up in the mountains.
Oh.
So really cold.
Yeah.
That was, it's been an experience. I've been to, I think, 16 countries, 17, including Ireland, that my wife and I went to about 4 years ago, which
outside of the military, all these countries on your own?
Well, 15, 16 in the military.
Okay.
17 outside.
Gotcha. All right. So Ireland.
Yep. I recommend that trip if anybody ever wants to take it.
All right.
It's a trip of a lifetime.
Northern or southern?
We went from Dublin to Shannon, so we went east to west.
Okay.
They tell you to stay kind of out of Northern Ireland.
Right.
So,
Isn't that where the IRA is?
yeah.
I don't know, I'm trying
the remnants of it.
to think of what shows I've seen.
Yeah.
Know where to go.
Going to Louder Than Life this year?
No.
Oh, man.
I usually go to Bourbon and Beyond, but that is the weekend that my daughter is graduating.
Oh, yeah.
So,
You can't miss that.
like, I'm getting back Saturday of our picnic at 6 a.m.
Mhm.
Got to race home, drop the wife off, and try to get to the picnic. So a lot going on that week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I think Louder Than Life's the weekend after.
Yep. Mhm.
Yeah, heavy metal is in small batches. I'm cool with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But not,
Well, I've got a good friend that I go with. I haven't been the last couple of years, but
What's your band there this year?
Believe it or not, I've never been like a huge fan, but I've always wanted to see ICP live.
I've seen them live.
I bet that was crazy.
Back in the early 2000s.
Okay, so yeah, it's almost height of there. So that was one
And I
of the
want to
first
say it
couple
was
albums.
what's the name of that place? If I said it, you would know it. It's right off Zorn Avenue. It's it'll come to me anyway. It's a little spot that a lot of people go to all the time. It's a little concert venue. It's small. Maybe it's not Zorn. Either way, that's where I saw him.
Okay,
Wasn't bad. If you like Fago and pot, which is at the time I dabbled. So
I'll tell you what. The first year that I went to Louder Than Life, Lamb of God played, and I'd heard them on YouTube, and they played so incredibly loud that like I said, I live in J-Town.
Mhm.
I guarantee you, I could hear that from my house. I mean,
Really?
it was just ear-deafening loud, and it was great.
Right.
One of the greatest concerts I've ever been
Okay.
to.
All right. Headliners is where I was thinking.
Oh yeah,
Headliners
okay.
Music Hall. Is that? Yeah.
Yep.
I can't want to say Outsiders. I don't know why. Okay. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of good ones there. I think it's Guns N' Roses. Did they come last year? Or was that the year before?
When did they come? I'm trying to think.
I would have liked to see them.
Yeah, that's one of those bands that I'd rather have seen them early on rather than at the end of their careers.
I feel that.
Like Alice Cooper was a great show, believe it or not.
I heard that. I heard Limp
but
Bizkit
then-
sucked.
Limp Bizkit was terrible.
And I've seen them live a couple times back when
Fred
they were.
Durst is an asshole.
Yeah, that's what I hear. Very
Yeah.
unfortunate. I saw them, and Kid Rock in Lowell Gardens once. It was dope.
All right.
It was a good time. That was my Fago and pot years. How do you handle criticism or setbacks?
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
Especially, like I said,
If you make it here, then just go ahead.
oh, I can guarantee it. I get voted or outvoted on a lot of ideas at work. I'm one of those types of people that I like to come up with, I guess, different solutions to problems that maybe aren't the norm. And a lot of times they make a lot of sense to me. And I'd say more than 50% of the time somebody has something different, different direction they want to go. It doesn't hurt my feelings.
Right.
I've been yelled at by some of the scariest people you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
So to have a foreman or superintendent or, somebody tell me that, well, no, we're going to go a different direction. You're not going to hurt my feelings
Right. Yeah.
at all. Setbacks, they happen.
It's part of life. I think they make you better, honestly.
Oh, absolutely. If you're not learning from them, then
if you learn from it, then a setback is actually a good thing.
Right.
It's almost like
absolutely
a cheat code you were taught if you can actually accept it and listen to it.
Well, that's where wisdom comes from.
Mhm.
It's not so much your successes as it is your failures and what you learn from them.
Yeah.
And how not to repeat it.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Last one. If elected, how do you want your leadership to be remembered when your term is over? So what do you want your legacy to be?
Well, like I said, I talked a lot about education. I really want to see, let's say a first-year apprentice this year that I see, 20 years down the road, and he can say, you know what, I really appreciate what you did when I was an apprentice.
Yeah.
We talked about technology and having journeymen, actually become teachers, or they should be already, but helping to change that mindset and giving them the skills to have a great career, a long career, and something. I want to see everybody's quality of life grow every single year.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to see us have to take a step back, but I want to be a part of that growth. I want to help make that change. So,
fair enough. All right. Anything you want to add?
No. Regardless of how people vote, come out and vote.
Yes, please.
There's so little attendance on during our elections that.
I think my first one, we were right at 800 people, and that was the most it'd been in a while, and then the most it's been since then. So it'd be nice to get. Now, granted, there hadn't been a lot of opposition, as far as so no one really had to show up. So I get it. Like, well, you're unopposed, so why would I take time? But hopefully this generates some more.
Well, but we've got a lot of delegates, so it's not just.
But even for your position, Marty's a good dude. I didn't really know Marty very well, but since meeting him, there's two very good candidates right here. So, and hopefully, this helps get y'all's message out. Hopefully when y'all go to the jobs and you actually get to talk to people face to face, that helps. And, hopefully the body shows up and represents and votes for someone who they want to lead, lead us local. And that's not just a buddy or a funny guy, but actually someone you would be like, all right.
If there's one thing that I can leave everybody with, it's, a lot of times this turns into a popularity contest, but I really want to see people vote their conscience.
Yeah.
I really want to see people vote for who they think is going to be the best person in that position. It may not be me, it may not be him, but it's going to be one of us. And I hope that, enough people come out and actually get the opportunity to understand what we're about and know what they're voting for rather than just a name.
Yeah.
And I appreciate this opportunity to
Absolutely.
get that message out.
Yeah. And I hope, y'all go out to the job sites because, neither of you guys, if you haven't worked for Marty or worked with you, it's like you don't really know him,
Mm-hmm.
So how do you gauge? How do you vote with your conscience? Someone you don't know. Then it kind of turns into the popularity contest. So you almost got to get out and like, hey, meet people where they're at, face to face. And I did a lot of that my first time, and it's good to actually meet people too. And actually, like you said, you hear what they're talking about, some of their concerns, it's good. So, best of luck, man.
All right.
Seriously, be fun. That is next Friday and Saturday, right?
That is,
Is it
2 weeks.
God,
Should be 5th and 6th.
I have no clue what day it is anymore. Yeah, you're right. 2 weeks.
So
next week.
Yeah. Is it next week?
Yeah, it is next week.
What is
all right,
today?
I'm not stupid. All right.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
All right, so, okay. So the graduation is the week after. All right,
Yeah.
cool. I know I was messed up. Awesome. Well, hey, great job. Great seeing you. I'll post this as soon as it gets edited, and we'll go from there, all right?
All right, awesome.
All right, see you, brother.
Appreciate it.
Bye.